What's up, guys? Josh Lau here with the Card Guys, and with me are my good friends Nathan Crawford and Willie B, and my arch nemesis, Oldhim, grandfather of eternity. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
I'm good.
Oh my gosh, it wasn't even Oldham all along.
It's me
Oh, it was just Ed. Oh, okay, never mind.
with my LSS chair that I was
Yeah,
so
a one of
lucky
one.
to win.
Yeah,
Oh my
very
gosh.
Yeah,
nice.
that's right.
I forgot you had that special chair.
Well, guys,
I wonder what I'm playing at Pro Tour.
yeah, it's
Guardian.
9 p.m. and I kind of don't want to record a 4-hour video because there are 25 heroes in the meta. So I think we should just take a look at the RTN wins, and I got a nice, lovely chart here. So here are the final results for the RTNs by wins, and we can just cut it here, and
Yep. If
How
you
do-
have
how
any
does-
questions, post it in comments below.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, see ya.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks, Magnolia Gaming, Fabric.gg, and Dragon Chill for sponsoring us. We'll see you at Pro Tour.
Nah, just kidding, guys. We wouldn't do that to you guys.
Wow.
No, we wouldn't do that to you guys. Today, the chart guys have got a chart for you guys. Not a tier list, a chart, because we are sophisticated and we are high effort content creators here, okay?
I'm
No.
not.
Nathan already made a tier list. If you want a tier list,
Yeah.
you could go check out his stream yesterday. Today, we're going to give you basically a 2-for-1, a combination of a tier list, but also our prediction on the metagame share going into Pro Tour 4 in Los Angeles in 1 week. Oh boy, guys, that's coming up way faster than I thought. All right, so
Yep.
we are organizing this very similar to what we did for Pro Tour 3. So if you have been watching since Pro Tour 3, shout out to you guys. But basically, on the x-axis here, we have the metagame share. So lower metagame share will be on the left, higher metagame share will be on the right. And then the y-axis represents the strength of the deck, with commanding performance, of course, being strong, and what's elo anyways being weak. So we basically have divided this into 4 quadrants. So this quadrant here in the top right is going to be the meta decks that are strong. Over here in the top left, these will be dark horse decks that we think maybe not a lot of people will be on, but should perform very well. Down here in the bottom right, this is going to be the overrated area. So we think maybe a lot of people will be playing them, but the conversion into day 2 or into the top 32 will not be the greatest. And down here we have the, what do we call it? The you bought a PTI to troll people round 1 area. So low meta share and low power level, right? Okay, so we know a lot of you guys are audio listeners, and because we have an XY chart, we will attempt to make this as audio podcasty friendly as possible. All right, so what we did last time is we started off with, putting a few things into this quadrant over here, the strong decks with high meta share. And look at that, guys. We have 25 heroes now. This is Fab is becoming quite an expansive game. All right. When I say high meta share, commanding performance, which hero jumps out at you?
Dromi.
Oh my.
All right, so we have Dromi here. Let's first, so we know it's going to go in this quadrant here. Let's talk about where exactly we're going to put them. Of course, as we develop, we can move things as we see fit. All right, Nathan, tell me why Dromi is strong and why a lot of people will be on Dromi.
I think she does something that's fundamentally powerful. which in a meta that is
Mhm.
most people are complaining about being very wide open. It's kind of what you want to be doing. You just want to do something that's very powerful, and maybe the person you sit across from has an answer, maybe they don't. Um, and instead of just trying to be a Swiss Army knife and like having an answer or a tool for every single situation. You kind of get spread very thin in those situations. So I think decks that just bring something very linear, very powerful, and everybody knows board state. I guess everything is technically board state, but like dragons, allies, it's very strong right now.
There's a lot of heroes in the current metagame that just cannot deal with the board state
Can't.
effectively.
Right.
The first one that jumps out in my mind is Kassai.
Most warriors, right?
Most warriors in general do not do very well with either style of Dromi. That's actually something that we probably should talk about a bit. Is that we've seen kind of a shift towards big dragon. Obviously, the red line aggressive Dromi still exists, but I think it's safe to say that most of the successful Dromi lists recently have been shifting to big dragon. And do we know why that's the case?
I mean, gaining life off of Tone of Findale to extend the game and play more dragons is very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
right.
Mage Master Boots, Tome of Findle, extremely strong, or Chromai into Tome of Findle, also very, very strong. And I guess have we seen Dromi need to adapt to anything in particular in this current metagame? With more brutes running around, we have an extra guardian in the format through Victor. Is that part of the reason why Dromi has had to adapt in that way, or is it's just stronger?
I think it's the brutes. I think that's the main thing. Is the brutes coming in? It kind of forced Dromi players to kind of think outside the box.
Mm-hmm. Exactly that.
Yeah. So I guess one of the things that is very, very different from Worlds, where we also saw Dromi have a very high metagame share and a very, very strong performance in general, is that Icelander is gone. So I guess that has something to do with it. Also, adding 5 new heroes obviously shakes up the meta quite a bit. Okay, so whatever we put on the far right will be the most represented deck. Do we think Dromi will be the most represented deck, or do we think there will be another hero that could take its place, or maybe be tied?
There's a solid chance. I think there's a solid chance that she is the most represented, and I think she's going to be very strong on top of that.
I know how we're going to be able to tell, because at the end of round 1, if we see a lot of people still sitting down, they're playing Dromi mirrors. So yeah, if you want to get that bathroom metagame, don't bring Dromi. But okay, I think let's. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, ever since Tome of Imperial Flame, I think the Dromi mirror has actually accelerated a lot. I think the average time is probably like 30
true.
minutes now.
Okay, well, it's still a matchup that could potentially take a very, very long time if they have a lot of. I guess also when we start thinking about like Dromi's teching for other Dromis, we have things like Cadaverous Contraband, we have Remembrances, recycling important dragons, recycling rakes and stuff like that. So the potential for it to go long is definitely there, but yes, there definitely could be some high roll. Because if I can't remember which game this was, but there was a Dromi mirror and it was just one guy just had so much tempo, and the game ended almost 40-0. And I was like, how does a mirror match end 40-0? Well, there's some high roll potential there, especially if you get your board cleared consistently.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna put it far on the right, high meta share. So high meta share being, let's put a number on this. Is this like 12%? Is this 14%? Obviously, this is not like Starvo. Starvo was, I think, 35% at Pro Tour 1. It's not going to be 35%. 18? 20?
18. I think
18?
18's a solid number. Yeah.
It seems reasonable.
Okay, so we'll say that the far right side of our chart will be occupied by Dromi, and roughly this is 18%. So the middle will be 8-ish%, and
9%.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that, and then the left side will be closer to 0%. And are we going to put her closer to the commanding performance, or kind of close to the middle line here? So being the most represented deck, you have a giant target on your back, right? So, but the thing is, Dromi can't really be targeted
Right. Like that's the
as
problem.
easily, right? It doesn't matter how many poppers you put in your Kassai deck, you're probably boned.
Yeah.
I think it's
He's up there.
safe to say somewhere around here. This is kind of the
even higher.
This is the territory that Lexi occupied during Pro Tour 3. Is that where we're going to put Dromi, in the same area, general area?
I think she's best deck in format. Other people could disagree. I mean,
okay. Okay, so let's just put her there for now then. All right, let's belt out another high meta share commanding deck from these. I think we have to put one of the brutes over there. Which one is it?
Might as well grab. I might as well grab Kayo, right?
All right, let's talk about Kayo. So, Kayo has been probably I don't want to know. I don't want to say he's like the most represented deck from heavy hitters, but through the Talishar data, he is the most played heavy hitters deck, closely followed by Victor and Kassai. Kayo, relatively straightforward to play. Also doesn't take a lot of reps to get up to a decent competency. Obviously, there's some complexity in the lines because there's uncertainty built into the deck. But most high-level players should be able to navigate Kayo to close to full efficiency. Kayo does powerful things. The thing is, we haven't seen Kayo really succeed at like a battle-hardened level event since Yuki won in week 1. And that was, the meta has changed. That's something that we really haven't talked about much, is that the meta game has changed a lot in the last 6-7 weeks. People have, been testing decks, and we've seen a rapid shift. But I think fundamentally, Kayo's still doing pretty strong things. He does have a few weaknesses in that, like, he's not really running many D-reacts in his deck. So he does get taken advantage of by, Dorinthia, for example. And any deck that's running Pummel should also, hit a good amount of the time. So, yeah, guys, talk to me a little bit about Kayo.
Well, if Kayo gets to roll over his agilities and just continually do the double big damage attack every turn, and in the matchups where he needs to stack a Blood Rush and a Cast Bones together, if he can do it, he's just unstoppable and amazing. But if he can't do it, he kind of just falls short a lot of the time.
There's definitely a giant gulf between his power cards and his vanilla cards. Is Kayo positioned well in this metagame? Let's just put it that way. So we know that Kayo does decently powerful things. We know that Brute got a lot of support in the last couple sets. They have an excellent armor suite, one of the best users of Tunic that we've seen in quite a while. But is this current metagame favorable or unfavorable for Kayo?
I wouldn't say unfavorable, but it's definitely not favorable. Like, I would say that it's kind of like somewhere in the middle.
I think he's fine, basically.
Yeah. He does good numbers, but like other than that, he gets dumpstered by every single warrior, which there may or may not be a high representation of. But like, Your Azalea match isn't fantastic. Your Dromi match, everybody thought it was free. Then the Dromi's recalibrated. Now I think it's close to a 50-50.
Maybe a
So
little
if you,
favored, but
yeah, but if you're not even steadily beating the illusionist, then why are you playing it? I mean, you'll beat up on Guardian. I'll give you that. KO's like pretty favored into Victor and Bravo just because he does better numbers and he can do it all in one attack in most turns.
Yeah, it doesn't lose the clashes. In fact,
Right.
Victor probably
Right.
doesn't even bring those in, right? Because you're not likely
Some
to
of
hit. Yeah.
generally speaking, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's safe to say that KO will be fairly represented. In fact, this will probably be the aggro deck of the format. But it seems like from our discussion, we might even put him in the bottom right quadrant as overrated.
Maybe not a smidge that low because I think he
Yeah.
can still just go bananas. It's one of those
I'd put
kind of
him on the
aggro
line.
decks.
I'd put him
Yeah.
like on the line.
Okay.
Like
Somewhere
He
I don't
around.
think
he can
I don't
still
think
just
he's
go
amazing.
bananas.
Yeah, you can high roll.
Okay. We'll put him right there on the line, a little bit left of Dromi. So we're basically saying 15%-ish, 16%. So
Yeah.
one thing that we do need to talk about is that at Pro Tour and Worlds, we do see consolidation of the meta because this is obviously the highest stakes tournaments. So people play what they perceive to be the deck that gets them the highest chance to win, obviously. Whereas meta Nats and ProQuest, RTNs are obviously battle hardens, callings, a little bit more open, right? So seeing 15+% out of here is not unusual. Okay, we'll stick him here for now. Okay. All right, so we talked about two good heroes. Let's balance that out with some garbage. All right.
Anything from Bright Light.
Anything from Bright Lights. Oh boy. Okay, let's talk about Max then. He was the first one I saw. So traditionally, Max built as a combo deck utilizing the hyperdrivers with Nitromechanoid.
Yep.
Typically can combo off between turn 4 and 6, very similar to Bolton. And you basically, after you have your Mechanoid, you can beat down with the Mechanoid off of a high octane twin drive
And
boost
block.
type of thing. And you can block very well. Obviously, there are some downsides in that you get your mech blown up by all of the lovely brute equipment hate. That just that I think most brutes will be packing, like smashing performance and
might as well.
What was the one that you Arg Smash
and
all the other ones there?
Yeah.
Is that enough of is the high brute meta share coupled with that inherent weakness enough to just auto put him here?
Well, not only that, but like he's literally just free into Azalea.
Yeah. You don't beat Dromi. Dromi is
Dromi too.
yeah, if anything gets tumble tied, then you're just done. There's nothing you can do, and even then, you have to like combo and then survive the dragons, because you haven't been doing anything the whole time up until there. Other than that, yeah, you're gonna beat up on Guardian, but how much of that you're gonna lose to Kano? So what are you beating with that deck? You're gonna tear up some Guardians. Congratulations, you're good into 11% of the field. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's safe to put him where Leviah used to occupy. Leviah and Bolton used to occupy
except
this
now
corner.
she's great.
Yeah, well, now Leviah's great. Yeah. All right. You said Bright Light Heroes Dash
Might as
IO.
well knock him out. Yep.
Yeah. So Dash IO.
She's a little better. She's still good.
This hero had a flash in the pan, right? There was a couple weeks where we're like, you went 15-1 at that calling, and then everybody was like, hold on, guys. Toba Fendel off of Dash is kind of ridiculous, and then you get so many action points, and you can be really, really aggressive. And then what happened? The fact that she has an average of 6 block per hand plus
Right.
Well,
fatigable plus
yeah, the
hate
deck has
cards.
the deck has a
Brute
very hard time against block 12.
and brutes get better.
And heavy hitters is full of block 12s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much arsenal hate to where you can't set up anything like meaningful, like a max V. Um, in my stream, I was like dogging on this hero, and Vero said it perfectly. I was like, I understand you can set up the in-game hyper scrapper for like 27. I get
Mhm.
it. And Vero was like, okay, good. Take 27 down to 13 and win the game. Because like you didn't do any damage up until that point, like you just been like doing nothing and accomplishing nothing. So
Mhm.
it like just I don't know. I don't think she's a bad hero. Just this meta is so bad for what she's trying to accomplish.
Okay. I think it's safe to say she's a bit better than Max, and maybe couple more people will play her than Max.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's fair.
totally, yeah.
So something like this. Okay. All right. The last Bright Lights hero. Let's just
She
knock
eats
this
up
out.
Kano.
We got Tech Levosin. Kind of similar to Max. Congratulations. You can do well against some Guardians and slower decks.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you doing?
Call me crazy, and I might be on an island with this one, but I think he's the best of the three. I never
Wow.
thought I'd say that.
Okay.
But
Let's hear your reasoning for that.
like everybody's trying to like dirtle around a little bit, like block 2 cards, send 2 cards, and like he's really good at that strategy. He has an absolutely free win in the Guardians. He probably doesn't have a horrendous brute matchup because item destruction doesn't work for him because all of his stuff is equipment. So you can't like blow up anything of his. You have to end the game very quickly. Kassai is going to be problematic for him because he packs a bunch of D reacts. Like Assassin can be a little scary because you can shred a piece of equipment and then completely cut off Singularity. But the format's kind of slowed down to where in almost every matchup he's given enough room to maybe play Singularity. And that was the whole problem with the deck was you never really cast it.
The issue is that Singularity is a single card, and that is, it could be the 4th from the top, it could be the 50th from the top, it could be somewhere in the middle, and then you have to like pitch it or arsenal it forever. There's a little bit of a variance in his gameplay, and I don't know. I just haven't seen or played against a Tech Levosin that has made me feel like, okay, this is actually doing something a little busted. So,
Do
okay.
we put it a little higher or a little lower than Dash? And that's the question.
I think he'll be less represented, but I think he's actually a better pick.
Okay, I like that. That's smart.
All right, we'll kind of go like this then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We've been talking about bad heroes. Let's go back to talking about let's go to this quadrant here. Okay, give me your dark horse picks for lowish meta share. So we're talking like below 7%, but has the strength to give a commanding performance.
Probably Katsu or Leviah, one of those two.
Okay, let's talk about Katsu first.
Okay.
It seems to me that a lot of teams and practice groups around the world either think Katsu is the most busted thing ever or the most overrated thing ever. And, well, it's time for the chart guys to give the definitive answer to this.
Right, because we're the authority.
Our Katsu players, we're all Katsu players here, right?
Well,
Yeah,
we're good
course.
friends. We're good friends with Pudding, and Pudding is pretty high on Katsu right now. He's not 100% on him, but he's pretty high on him. And as someone who's been fighting into a decent amount of Katsu from one of our teammates, he's pretty darn spicy right now. You can still beat him. You can still counter him. But Katsu is in an okay spot right now. An okay to great spot. It just depends on the player that you are and the luck of your draw.
Okay,
It basically boils down to it beats the best deck in the format.
Yes.
that okay. I was about to ask a very leading question, but
Yeah.
It's also pretty decent against the Guardians as well. Depending on the way they play the game, because they're very combo centric now. A lot of them are playing Mask of the Bouncing Links, right? They'll hold like a 5-card hand at some point, give their armor, and then just do this like crazy, let's say 40, 50 damage turns sometimes. It just depends on the situation. And on those turns, like if you're a Guardian like me, right? You lay down your hand, you're like, okay, I'm blocking some stuff. I'm giving you my armor. I'm trying to stop these on hits. And then they eventually get a on hit because they have Artowar and they have Ancestral Empowerment. Then they go crack their mask and go get a tenacity and then just blow you out of the water. You're like, oh, 12 right at the end of the combat chain, which is just nuts. The ceiling on that deck is ridiculous. It's so good. So good.
So tenacity is one of the cards that people search for. Obviously, if you're going for the Dishonor line, you would grab one of the pieces there. Dishonor in this format seems pretty strong. Obviously, if you shut off Dromi or Kayo's or Kano's ability to operate, most heroes in this game are very dependent on their hero ability. So, the fact that the Pouncing Links basically, plus the Katsu trigger, gives you 2 of the 4 pieces that you need. Makes for pretty strong turns here. Does Katsu have a problem kind of similar to Azuri and Dorinthia in that very strong players know how to deal with the deck? Like Azuri and Dorinthia at a very high level have always felt a little bit underpowered because it's like, okay, they know exactly the card pool and everything like that.
There's a little bit of that, but because you have so many reactions, you have your breaking skills and whatnot, and as long as you pick your point correctly, you have to bank on your opponent, right, to make an improper block. They might block 1 over, but you can push 2 over. You just can't. And then at that point, if that happens, you can just take the game as the Katsu player.
Okay, so
it's almost to the
patient.
point it's kind of like Bolton combo now in a sense. It's like you can know it's coming, you can know it's the turn, but they're just going to keep waiting until they have a situation where they know there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And he's just going to do the thing. He's going to get you down to 8, 7 life, and then he's just going to Kadachi the shit out of you. It's kind of the reverse situation with Bolton, where Bolton wants to walk your life down to 30 and then just kill you with the combo. Katsu is just going to literally just sit there at 40 life, block, 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 fill the graveyard, block, 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 and then get the hand, knock you down to 9, and then Kadachi you out.
I was fighting a Katsu and it was going great for me. I was at like 22 life. I was like, as long as he doesn't present 31, I win this game. And he went triple bonds and presented 31 and he beat me. It was out of nowhere. I was winning the whole match and then he went 31. And I didn't know Katsu could present 31 in 1 turn. It was insane.
Yep.
Okay.
And really, the interesting part was he didn't really get any like crazy cards or anything. He got Ancestral Harmony, which is okay. It's not crazy. I think people were just playing the deck wrong. I think people were too honed in on Mask of Momentum and getting to Chain Link 6 and all of that when you should have just been blocking the whole time and then kill him in 1 turn.
Yeah, filling the graveyard up is very, very, very high priority for Katsu because those are your bonds targets there.
Yeah, it's Leviathan with no blood debt.
Okay, so it sounds like we're gonna move him up the y-axis. Now,
I don't think there'll be a ton.
Really?
Right.
Well, actually, maybe just kind of
you do remember at Pro Tour 3, Team Poland invaded Baltimore with an army of Japanese ninjas.
Yeah, they did. They did.
So
I think the cat got out of the bag just soon enough that we'll see a good representation. I think the list got out there 3 weeks before the 3 weeks before Pro Tour, so I think enough teams. It's going to be very hard for an individual to pick it up, and like get enough reps and get familiar enough with it. But like I think enough teams that if they want to play this deck, they will have the time and the resources to do so.
yeah, there's I agree that there's just enough time to learn this deck, but this deck is not easy to pilot.
I agree.
All right, so I think we're actually putting him slightly above Dromi, but
A smidge, yeah.
closer to the center in terms of meta share.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's okay. I think
But we're saying he's better than Dromi?
Are we saying he's better than Dromi? Or should we move Dromi up a bit?
I mean,
I think Dromi is still better.
I think
Yeah,
Dromi's
Dromi's
best deck,
is-
but that's
yeah,
my
Dromi's
opinion.
a smidge better. I
Okay,
can agree. with
there
that.
we go. Well,
I still think he's good though. But yeah.
okay.
He does have some decks that he has a little bit harder time into, like a Victor who knows how the heck to block.
Right.
Mhm.
Playing Balance of Justice and get one block card on their go off turn. You just throw everything. You have Disruption as the Victor, Bravo, even, right? Which they're also going to be playing Balance of Justice. I mean, those are probably the harder matchups, but he can still do really well into them as long as he plays a proper game plan and can possibly make that matchup favored, is what I'm saying. So
Mhm.
I'm pretty high on him being a good deck.
Yeah.
Okay, another hero that I think we've been pretty high on as a team has been Azalea. Will, you have been the person that has been at the forefront of Azalea in this group. Talk to us a little bit about where you think Azalea goes on this XY chart.
I mean, Azalea is in a very good spot. She's very strong right now. She's good into a lot of the decks that are really trying to show up at this tournament. She's good into KO. She's good into ninjas and warriors in a big way. The Guardian matchup, of course, isn't wonderful, but that's just one thing you have to kind of accept. I think she belongs in a pretty good, strong spot. I don't actually think we're gonna see a ton of her though, because a lot of the Azalea players who are well known for playing the deck have come out and said that they don't believe she is the strongest choice right now.
It's a psyops. It's a psyops.
Yeah,
They're
that
playing
might-
Azalea.
that-
Get out of here.
That might be true.
Azalea has Codex. Don't we remember what Codex does,
Exactly.
guys?
Yeah, of course,
That
of
deck was
course.
broken.
But she doesn't use it quite as nicely as Lexi ever did.
Mhm.
But no, I think she's great. I think she is a wonderful deck right now. There are some things that are going against her. You might think you might think she's a bad choice. I've heard that that sentiment shared online, but she's got plenty of great options right now. I think she deserves a spot in the upper portion, maybe slightly to the right, and maybe close to where Katsu's at.
Slightly to the right. Okay, so
I
you,
think-
you,
Oh,
you think
well,
it's
hang on, no,
I think
actually,
she'll
no,
less
no, more to the
represented.
left. My bad.
a dark
Yeah,
horse
yeah,
area. Okay.
yeah.
I would lower her a little bit, honestly, because we had a conversation before this about how there's just a lot of D-Rex in the format. She
That's
does do some powerful things, but Guardian is going to be represented at a 10% plus rate, which is one of her worst matchups. And anybody who's going crazy on the D-Rex can kind of just like snuff her out in a way if she's not prepared for it. If she's not playing some like plan that can get around a fatigue style, like defense reaction heavy meta, like she might not be able to do it. That being said, I still think she's great. I think she has game into pretty much everything. And even like Kano, like all these other decks aren't like amazing into Kano, except for like Dromi and Katsu's okay into it.
Kayo's okay into it.
I guess KO's fine. Yeah, he's fine.
Well,
But-
let's talk a little bit about Azalea into Dromi in particular, since this will be what we presume to be the most represented deck.
Well, as someone who's lived through a Dromi heavy meta before she's having her resurgence right now, playing Azalea, the matchup isn't that bad. You have access to Red and Ledger and Sleep
Mhm.
Dart, which both say you don't get to have a Dromi turn. And as long as you run a decent chunk of poppers, you can usually stop them in their tracks when they're trying to get you. So it's not the worst thing. It's far from the best because you can still get high rolled. But Azalea and the Dromi is actually a pretty okay matchup.
Down and dirty time, baby. Make it happen.
I wanted to ask a little bit. I want to dig a little bit deeper into this because Dromi recently has started to run more defensive cards, and Rake the Embers is like you're never clearing the baby dragons in that matchup, right? So,
well,
does the inclusion of extra D reacts plus sand cover plus does that throw enough of a does that mess up Azalea enough, or is it still okay?
Sand cover? Sand cover as an instant is always a wild card because your anti arsenal D react cards can't stop it. But generally speaking, no, you're sending big enough dominate and you're popping the things that matter that you can kind of get away with certain things. But no, it's a coin flip. It's generally speaking a 50-50 matchup. If the Dromi does the thing, then you're gonna lose. There's not much you can do about that. But there's plenty of tools in your arsenal that you can stop them too.
I think
I get it.
having
That's a
the
funny joke.
D, I think having the D reacts in the like big dragon version or more D reacts, I think all it doesn't hedge the matchup in any way. It just reduces the variance.
Mhm.
I think when it's big dragon, it's like decks can swing this far apart. Whereas red line, like if you get red in the ledger and you have Snatch, Rabble, and Blaze Headlong in your hand, then you've lost the game, right? On the other hand, if I don't red in the ledger you, and you have Rabble, Blaze Headlong, and Snatch, I'm in trouble, right? So I think it just the more redliney version just adds more in-game variance in the matchup, whereas the big dragon just reduces it. But I think it all equals out to about a 50-50.
Okay. All right. Next up, we got Briar. No, I'm just I'm just messing with you.
Oh
only.
man, the good old days.
Let's talk about Bravo. Sorry, this is another hero with B.
Bro, is your good old meat and potatoes 50-50 style hero, right? Tell me about him, Ed.
No, it's plus 50 per me. I'm like the best Bravo in the US, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Let's talk about what Bravo got in this set. So he got a new arm piece.
Disappointment.
Yeah.
And
Nothing.
a new blue
Oh, you got a-
sticks.
Yeah, you got a blue stick.
Yeah, we got the
Okay.
thunks.
Blue six, yep,
Don't
yep.
forget.
And
Hey, that was all he needed. He's like definitely commanding performance, like 100% above Dromi. All the way to the left though, because nobody's gonna play him.
Oh, right here, huh?
Yeah, exactly. He is the dark horse that you want to be playing. I promise.
All right.
No, in all
Tell us how
seriousness,
you really feel.
in all seriousness, he's good. I think he's still fine. I don't know if he's better than Victor. I'm having a hard time deciding which one is like the pick for me personally. I do think Victor might be a little bit better, but we're talking about Bravo. So Bravo has some inherently powerful things that he can do. He has the built-in disruption with his specialization cards and the dominate to be able to close out some games, whereas the other Guardian doesn't really have that, right? But you're trading off some
Betsy
of the
doesn't
efficiency.
have shit.
Yeah, exactly. She can also like pseudo dominate, right? Once Bravo's gone, she's like the best hero that can provide evasion.
Mhm.
because she's the only hero that can provide it. Anyway, um, his issue is he might be a little too fair is the problem, right? Um, all of his on hits that provide disruption are crush effects, and some people think that crush is a fake keyword in first place because it never hits, right?
Mm.
Never hits. So
Except for when it does.
with that
Azalea
being
has the best
said,
crush. Crush 1.
right? That's right. That's right.
Full rest.
But yeah, he might just be a little too fair for this meta. You know, people are packing the D reacts for all these different things, right? And Bravo does not like the D reacts. A lot of the new heroes have like new armor as well. Like the brutes, they got more armor. Like they're not playing gambler's gloves anymore. They're playing 3 more block at their arm slot. Like that's pretty tough, right? So yeah, he's just not doing anything crazy. He's not presenting a problem. He's always been the type of hero that's like, I'm trying to answer your problem that you're giving me. And in this meta, you have to present the problem like we were talking about with the Dromi. So I still think he's okay. He's probably like middle,
Mhm.
right? But he should be probably closer to the left side on the lower meta share, but not terribly much. I
Okay.
think some people will be playing him,
Oh
but
yeah.
let's say there is like 11% Guardian, like we were talking about earlier, or something, right?
Mhm.
He'll likely be like 3% or something along those lines. So he might be like middle of the low meta share, maybe right in the middle.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
That's
no
probably
way
fine.
we're looking these viewers in the face and saying that Bravo's as good as KO.
Maybe a
All right,
little
fine.
lower.
All right, fine. All right, fine.
There's
Yeah.
no way
A
we're
lot
lying.
of badge. Okay.
There's no
There
way we're lying to these people.
And I don't think Bravo's bad, but he's a
No, he's
smidge
not
lower,
bad,
you're
but he's not as good as KO. I mean, come on.
I think he has a decent Dromi matchup. It's like
He does.
since Dromi has started doing their new game plan, it is harder. But I think between the 3 available Guardians, I think he has the best plan into her being able to provide disruption, big attacks, having to go against attacks that you normally have. So I don't think he's a terrible pick. It's just like when a lot of the meta is what we're seeing now with the KOs and these other things, like you're just going into unfavorable matchups, right?
Bravo also has a pretty difficult time dealing with Kano, if I recall correct.
Yep. That is like almost an auto loss. For any Guardian. Doesn't matter
just
what
not
Guardian
enough
it is.
speed, and if you present Crippling Crush and it actually hits, they're like, okay, well, I'll just instant out everything and just, okay.
Exactly.
I don't have to discard anything.
It's like, oh, I'm going to dominate this Crippling. And they're like, oh,
and if you dominate a Crippling, you
title,
probably don't have any floating. So it's like,
Yeah.
Correct. That's the other
yourself up,
problem, right?
so,
Yeah, exactly.
And there's also, I don't know if you have any sideboard slots to deal with your arch nemesis control dash. Normally you would include a couple copies of Smashing Good Time in the deck list, but currently it's not possible if I've got the read right.
I haven't been. I've never really been a big fan of that card. If I'm playing against Dash, Bravo actually, believe it or not, his matchup into like the hybrid Dash is fine. His slab Dash is like the problem, right? Like you get paired in that, you're like, okay, you got me. Like that one's pretty bad. But I personally, I probably wouldn't bring a couple of cards that like target a single deck in my list when I'm like looking at a meta that is mostly Dromi and KOs and stuff like that, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys want to go ahead and knock out Arachne?
Sure. Let's talk about.
I think Arachne's in an okay spot. He's not amazing, but he's okay.
I have not played against Arachne in God knows how long.
Well, they got that new like blue reaction, which is like
he's good into
pretty
KO.
good card, but he has some decks that he can just like kind of get, but the majority of the meta, he's just
Yeah,
terrible.
I think he's just
Can't
bad
be-
into a lot, but he can cheese certain things, which is pretty funny.
Well, he can't beat Dromi. He can't beat Guardian, right?
Yeah,
He won't beat any illusionist for that matter. Even like talking about
that's true too.
he won't beat almost any warrior, and he is very unlikely to beat the brutes in general. Right? Like,
He's
like
good
you
in
said,
KO.
he can do some things into KO, sure. But in like what the set that just came out, we got warriors, got guardians, we got brutes.
Yes.
What did I just say? He's yeah, whatever.
I
He's
don't
cool
even
though.
think I don't even think Arachne can win the mirror.
I think the bottom left area of our chart is going to get very full. That's what I predict.
I don't.
Yeah, he's
if
probably
Arachne
not.
wins the Pro
Yeah.
Tour, he's not going
Is
to.
he-
But boy, will I be embarrassed.
I'm gonna
He's not better
I'm
than,
gonna start
or
making
he's
room
not
for
better
all
than
these here.
Max.
Okay.
He's not better than Max. Get out of here. Max is better, bro.
When I made my tier list yesterday, I was like, look, if I'm being 100% honest with you, chat, I would make the D tier like 9 heroes long, but it makes the chart look stupid. So I like put some of them in C.
We're stretching it out here. Yeah. I mean, realistically,
room.
these
Make
all
some
should be
room.
overlapped here, but that makes the chart look ugly. So, okay, I'm gonna put Arachne at the bottom left, even though
that's
Will
fine.
Will said it. He's good. I just don't have any data, so I haven't played against him in a long time. All right, here I've been playing against a lot though. Is this particular horse?
Yeah, the horse.
Yeah, the horse.
So tell me about this fine four-legged beast.
I mean, he draws cards sometimes.
What is the most powerful thing in any card game? It's card
Winning.
advantage.
Dealing lethal damage.
Nathan, you are correct. You get the prize. The most powerful thing in any card game is generally card advantage, and he does that. But it's dependent on what your opponent is doing, so that it can be an inherent problem, right? And you have built-in variance with the test cards, anything that's clash, right? Like there are some matchups you just don't want to bring that into. You play against a KO, you're losing 60% of your clashes. Like it is what it is, right? But then you play against a warrior and you're like, how do I lose? I win every clash. It's amazing. So I've been pretty hot on him. Yeah, he's good. I think he'll be a higher meta share plus in the commanding performance area. I think he's better than Kayo. Do you think that?
I agree.
So this hero has a little bit of gem luck. He feels like a kind of polarizing guardian. Like you have some very, very strong matchups. You have some very, very weak matchups. You even have matchups where it's dependent on what your opponent flips. Like if you're playing against Bolton and he flips Raiden, you're happy. And if he flips Saber Hot Streak, you're like, well, time to go get lunch. So, even on that, and then we have Kano that also is going to be an issue for Victor. But I said, like, before we started recording, I said that Victor felt like the Guardian version of Kassai. Like, you're doing something strong, but your weak matchups are very weak. But your strong matchups are strong. So it's like gem luck could get you pretty far, but then you meet, 2 or 3 of the wrong matchups and you'll be playing in the calling. So
Yep.
That's kind of how I feel about Victor.
That's fair.
I think he's
the
doing
only
something strong
inherent-
though.
I think the only inherent, like, really horrible matchups are the same as Bravos, like Kano, Slapdash. Pretty much any of the mechs, right? Like, those are all kind of, besides Dash IO. I don't consider her a mech. She's just kind of there.
Okay,
But-
so do we want to put Victor in the top right quadrant? I think.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
generally
he's
agree.
pretty,
it's gonna
he's
be-
pretty good.
Now, where among Katsu does he lie?
Probably a smidge to the right.
Yeah, more
Uh,
than Katsu.
but
but
under him.
and yes, just I'd probably put him like halfway there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I like that. I think that's pretty good.
Okay, so for our audio listeners, Katsu is a little bit higher in terms of performance than Victor, but Victor will be a little bit more represented.
represent.
Okay. Okay. I think we've gone long enough without a Josh Lau warrior rant. So, which warrior do you guys want to hear about first?
I want to hear how Dori's a
Kassai.
dark horse.
No,
Yes.
Kassai.
Not
Okay, no.
I already pulled Dori in, so we'll talk about Kassai next. Okay, so Dori. Now, this is the hero that I'm leaning towards for Pro Tour. Now, I'm still not completely sold on Dori, but the more and more I play Bolton, the more and more sad I am that I just can't beat Dromi. Whereas Dorinthia has a fighting chance into Dromi. In fact, she has more than a fighting chance into bad Dromi's in particular. So let me quickly talk about Dorinthia versus Dromi. This is a matchup where if either player makes a mistake, you can basically just indirectly lose the game. You won't lose for like 4 or 5 turns, but you basically have lost the game. So if you put out a dragon at the wrong time and I can like if your general game strategy is wrong, you're putting out too many dragons for me to eat, you're going to have a bad time. Or if you try to stop the Dawnblade counters at a critical point and you're unable to do so, then you're also going to lose the game there. So in general, Dori against Dromi has actually been pretty 50-50, although I would much rather see the red line Dromi's than the big dragon Dromi's. Big dragon Dromi can be quite difficult. Clearing certain dragons is difficult, and obviously she has, extra defensive cards as well in that matchup, so that's kind of annoying. But overall, I looked at all the matchups for Dori, and this is something I did on stream as well. She doesn't really have a bad matchup other than Victor, and for me personally, Katsu. But that I have admitted on stream that could just be me being bad against Katsu. But I think actually against Victor, this is actually near unwinnable. You basically have to get a triple hit in, which is very difficult to do with grains. So I've started to, play around with Courage of Bladehold more. And even then I can get it close, but I feel like this matchup is quite difficult. But into the rest of the field, like you do pretty well into Kayo. And Dorinthia can be built in many different ways. That's a part of the strength of all the warriors, is that I could flip Dawnblade, I could flip Axes, I could flip Decimator. You never really know. In addition to that, Dorinthia is one of the few heroes in the game that interacts with Kano in a favorable way, because they use the stack, you also use the stack. So you can put lethal on the stack and then force them to go off. Very few heroes have that luxury. She has a very, very high blue count, so she does fine against Kano. And the only thing that's really holding me back is that when I play Dorinthia against very high level players, it feels like I can't. Blade Flurry has helped with this, but I feel like I can't. There's not that much uncertainty in which attack react I have. It's like it's either Iron Song response, Blade Flurry, or Puncture, or Route. Right? It's basically those, right? So you let them figure out which one it is, and then they can. Oftentimes in this format, just blocking at +3 gets things done. So I've found that to be kind of an issue. So I've tried to change up my deck build a little bit these days, but I still find that's the only thing that's kind of holding me back, is that I think she's positioned well. It's just, do I want to take Dorinthia to play against 1,800 plus ELO players? Not really. I kind of want to high
Right.
roll them with Lumina Go Boomina.
Right.
So, Nathan, I think you talked briefly about Dori as a dark horse. Maybe I don't know if I hit any of the points that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I think that the biggest, I mean, she is my pick for being the dark horse of the tournament. And I think it's solely off of just winning via sideboarding. Just like you explained, guessing wrong or loading D reacts into a decimator axe sideboard, whatever the case may be. And I don't think it's a deck that a lot of people are practicing into. Like people are worrying about Kano right now. So maybe there is a little reduction in the D-React package to help compensate for that. Of course, Oasis can be used as a pseudo, but that if you don't have Tunic counter on 3, Oasis is awful against Dori. It's really good when Tunic's on 3, but other than that, it's terrible.
Damage prevention effects are extremely risky against Dorinthia now because most decks are playing double copies of Chorus of Ironsong. So take it on the chin, no fear, ward, sand cover, Oasis. If you play those against Dori, like you're playing with fire there because you could get mega blown out there. But yeah, I agree that the sideboarding thing is definitely one of the strengths for Dori. I just I don't know. I do agree she's pretty powerful in this format. As long as I don't pair it into a Victor, I think I have at least 40%, 45% into everything. In fact, there's quite a few matchups that are favorable for Dori, so we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to put her about here. I think probably 3%, just like Bravo. And we'll put her, maybe a little bit under Victor, a little bit above Azalea, something like that, right? Okay. All right. You wanted to talk about Kassai.
I just know how much you love Kassai.
Ah, yes, I adore Kassai.
Favorite.
Oh man, I've ranted a lot about Kassai, and so a lot of the points are going to be
first overrated hero.
Okay, so Kassai is doing powerful things just like Victor, but has many drawbacks that just hamper her, right? Awful against Dromi, awful against Kano, not amazing into decks that don't have attack actions like Dorinthia. Has issues in terms of speed. Has to set up her win con with spoils. Like if your spoils of war are not hitting, you're probably not winning with Kassai, right? So you have to set up, and then that gives time for your opponents to set up a D-React to counter your spoils of war turn. If you want the full explanation, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I literally wrote out a giant-ass explanation for why I think Kassai is overrated. You could go watch that. I think she's going to be pretty well represented though, but yeah. I would not be bringing Kassai into a room with Dromi and Kano.
Yeah.
And yeah,
and there's going to be a fair amount of Dromi and Kano, so it's just I agree with you. She's a strong deck, she's fine, but good luck into that room.
Yeah, the reason to play Kassai was to beat up on Kayo, and every single week Kayo stock is dropping and dropping and dropping. So your food is going away. You're not even good into Katsu. People are like, oh, but you have dynamos to stop guess what? We're not running momentum. So it doesn't matter. It's just an extra block. And half the time, we're not even attacking you. So the shit does not refresh. Yep. It literally is iron rot in that matchup half the time if it's played 100% correctly. You auto lose to Dromi. You auto lose to Kano. Your Victor matchup isn't fantastic. Azalea's rough. I mean, like,
you lose
sure,
to
you
Prism.
beat up on Dash. Yeah, you lose to Prism. Like, I just don't. Other than beating the brutes, you beat the shit out of every single brute. I'll give you that. But other than that,
that spoiler alert, Dori and
All the warriors do
Bolton,
it.
even
They
Olympia
all-
does okay against Brute. Okay,
Right.
Uh,
Like I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah.
I hope somebody proves me wrong.
do
We'll
do
see.
I-
We'll
do
see.
I think there will be multiple Kassais in the top 32? Yeah.
It'll
I-
be
I-
a volume thing. It
Yeah.
won't be a deck thing.
Yeah. Okay.
We
I
will
put her in the
see.
same line as Katsu, up and down. But like
Yeah.
like in the y
Yeah.
axis is what I'm saying.
I
But
like
probably
that.
there, yeah. That's probably about right.
Okay.
I like it.
So this is about like 10-ish% or so.
Mhm.
Something like that. Okay. All right. Let's take a little break from Warrior. Okay. Let's talk about Rhinar. I think this hero has been getting a lot of discussion. I also have the alternate art Rhinar here for you, Nathan.
I like it.
All right.
Maybe got back.
So Rhinar has actually been in the discussion, kind of similar to Katsu. We've had a lot of disagreement among the content creators and Twitter sphere and general discourse, right? About whether or not it is Reinhardt's time to shine.
I kind of think that Rhinar is at least pretty okay right now.
All brutes are not bad at the moment.
Mhm.
You can't get this level of equipment and card support and be bad. The question is so the warriors are actually very different. Whereas the brutes are all like herder, blood rush, bellow, I have 6 power stuff, herder. Right? So I guess the main question is, why would you pick Reinhardt over Kayo and Levia? And is that reason applicable in this current metagame?
You can play more of a mid-range game plan with Rhinar
Mhm.
Yeah.
without like
More 3 blocks.
worrying about dying. Right, yeah. Worrying about dying to blood debt, and then KO has a bunch of 2 blocks, right? Like you have built-in ways that are good against the decks that are trying to play a bunch of D-Rex into you. So like he's probably one of the better decks out of the brutes into the warriors for that reason, and he's definitely pretty good into the guardians as well because of that. Right, so he can play a little more defensive, play his own reacts, and then be able to play like a little bit longer game, wait until he gets his blood rush bellows, have like a really relevant turn that is able to get a bunch of intimidates off. And Victor really wants to block. Well, one of the most annoying things in testing when I play against a Rhinar is when they go intimidate, and I have like a test of strength, and of course the 1 out of 4 is the test of strength that they hit, and I'm just like, well, that's cool. I guess I lose. I guess I'll like block my hand and
Block
then
cards
pass the
are
turn, and
very
I won't
bad.
even arsenal because I can't do it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think he has some relevance, and I would assume that his matchup into Dromi is like pretty decent as well, right? So they could play like gamblers on the side, maybe. I don't know.
I think one of the main strengths for Reinhardt is that you can run multiple strategies in the same 80. So you can run claws, you can run club. We've seen Ravenous Meat Axe Reinhardt builds be a thing recently. And you just have the flexibility of like, okay, is this a matchup where I need to go fast? Okay, I can go fast. No, I need to go slow. All right, I can add 6 to 9 D reacts and just play a more mid-range game.
Exactly.
Whether or not that flexibility is relevant in this meta, I mean, that's one of the things. Like as the meta opens up and as the amount of heroes in the game goes up, having a flexible plan in the same 80 is important. Conceptually.
Yeah. I tend to do one thing with content creator in the realm of fab. And anytime that somebody has a known bias and they go with it, I ignore it. If they go against it, I take it as law. A good example of that is if Josh walked up to me and said, I think the Dori's the best deck in the format, I'd be like, okay, Josh, let's hear it. And I'd be like, all right, what do you got this time? But if he walked up to me and said, look, all 3 warriors, dog shit, I would immediately reach over to the whiteboard and just scratch all 3 of them off. I wouldn't question it. I wouldn't do any of that, right? And how does this apply to Rhinar? Well, I heard Hayden say that it just isn't it.
Mm.
And Hayden is a big Rhinar guy, and I know he put in the work to try and make it work, and he said it wasn't enough. So that goes against his bias that I know he has, and so I'm just gonna take it for what it's worth.
Okay. Okay, so where would Hayden Dale put Reinhardt?
No. I think he would say that it's going to be very low represented, and it's not like bad.
It's like buddies with Bravo. This is the
I guess so, yeah.
WTR section
Yeah,
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
put it in the WTR section.
Yeah,
Put 'em
they're
above-
probably holding
put 'em
hands.
above Bravo.
That works. I like that.
Yeah,
We'll put them here. There we go. They're
yeah,
all buddies there.
that's
Yeah,
fair.
sure.
Wait. Rhinar is not better than KO. No.
Oh,
All
wait,
right,
wait.
we're-
Wait. Should we just
we're-
move
okay,
KO up? Is
okay,
that
hold
what
on.
we're saying?
Maybe,
here?
maybe
Just put
that's
'em
right.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, here.
He's not as good either. Okay, that's better.
There we
Okay.
go.
That's
Okay,
better. I like
we
that.
got it. Okay, for our audio listeners, in the top left quadrant we have Dori and Azalea. So this is our dark horses, and in the top right we have Katsu, Victor, Dromi, and Kayo. So this was the strong high meta share decks. In the bottom right we have Kassai. I was trying to think of an interesting way to let's just put it plainly. We have Kassai in the overrated section, and then we have Bravo and Rhinar hanging out, lowish meta share, kind of regular power. I say that so that we can separate them from the Arachne and his buddies.
The
group.
trash.
In the very
No
bottom
offense if
left.
that's what you play, but they're just
Trash
not good
corner,
right now.
trash
Yep.
corner.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Okay. So let us continue here. I think we're about half done. So, we've been going about an hour. I think we
Half of the rest of these are going to be real quick.
That's true.
They're gonna
All right,
be
let's
real quick.
let's fill out this chart a bit more. All right. So let's
Yeah.
talk about the third guardian.
Betsy.
Bad.
Trash.
Best trash
Lower
equals
than
bad.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Obviously. What do you mean?
All right, we're gonna just put them in this section with the
I
record.
think
she's like all the
Betsy
way
actually.
bottom left.
No. Betsy could surprise some people, but you're right. Why would you
The
play her
only
over
reason
anything
that she's
else?
not more left is we can't completely cover up Arachne.
Okay.
Aesthetic.
Here.
That's
Okay.
the only
That's the
thing.
only reason.
Oh
I-
no, she's better than Arachne. She has Guardian cards. Come on.
That's
Okay,
just
okay. Okay. We will come back at the end and organize all the trash in the corner. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there's no
Betsy
reason.
wins
There's
Pro
no
Tour.
reason to play
Yes.
Betsy at the
There's
moment.
no reason to play that here. No
Nah,
reason.
Go
no,
if you want to play
Victor and
Guardian,
Bravo.
go play Bravo.
Yeah,
Will she get a specialization in the next set? Very likely.
we'll see.
I
It's the log.
anticipate
The
Yeah, her
log.
weapon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I anticipate Betsy and Olympia to get specializations in Part the Mistveil or in the upcoming classic pre-constructed decks that'll be available at the LGS.
Oh yeah.
We'll see. Okay.
I wanna
Trash,
put more trash in there.
trash.
Let's-
All right.
Olympia.
Let's talk about Olympia. Okay, to be fair, I don't think Olympia is complete trash. He is. I recently wrote an article for the Wraith Times. You can go check that out, outlining some of the things that Olympia does that is strong. However, he basically has a lot of issues very similar to Kassai, and it feels like he's lacking like 2 power cards, maybe 3 power cards. Like he needs an extra specialization. He needs something that is very very specific to wagering at instant speed. That's really his whole strength, right? Is being able to wager at instant speed. There needs to be one more effect to allow wagers at instant speed. And yeah, I mean, other than that, like he has a strong defensive base, strong value base. It's just at the moment you'd rather play Kassai or Hatchet's Dori instead of Olympia.
Yep.
Which currently I think there's only one viable build for Olympia, which is Hatchet's Olympia. I think if you tried Decimator or Saber Hot Streak or a build that's focused on the 7 power wager cards, you're gonna have a very bad time. So because of all that, we're gonna put him over here. We're gonna put him very low meta share because who practices Olympia?
Right.
Only I practice Olympia that I know of, like making content on Olympia on YouTube, at least. So, and I am not playing Olympia unless this coin over here that I'm gonna flip in like 4 days lands straight. But I don't think he's like awful. We can't put him as high as Bravo. Okay, we gotta crunch.
We gotta move.
We gotta put the trash together here. Okay, so there we go. All right, so we got them all over there. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's just add to the trash pile here.
Oh wow! Can we just stick him like even lower than Arachne?
Oh man,
he's better than Arachne. Get out of here.
So
is he better? Okay.
For our audio listeners, they're like, "Are you guys talking about Viscera, Vincent, or Riptide?" Well, we're talking about Riptide.
The one with Codex, the powerful card.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, you want to know how I know that card is not going to be banned? Because this hero sucks.
If you're playing Ranger, you might as well play the better Ranger that actually can utilize the best Ranger weapon, which is Death Dealer.
Yeah.
Okay. Low meta representation. You know what? Arachne, we're gonna give you stealth, Arachne, okay? You can see his feet.
There we go. Perfect.
You can see Arachne's feet, okay? We're being fair here, okay? And we can see Max's eyes or something like that. Okay.
All right. One more trash pile, Vincent.
Yeah. Well, let's add Vincent to the trash pile.
Might as well.
Yeah. I mean, what is she really doing? She got a great Prism matchup.
You know what is interesting? We actually have enough heroes in this bottom left quadrant that we could make like a new format. Wasn't that the thing, like the living lurker format or something?
Yeah,
living lurker format. I like it.
All right, awesome. So Vincent feels like
somewhere down low, unfortunately.
Yeah. Is there anything to say about this hero? Any meta relevance at all?
I mean, she does some cool stuff. The cool stuff.
She has unpreventable damage. Maybe that is useful in the next set.
Yeah, she has like unpreventable card discard too. So I don't know. She's not like the worst on the planet. She does some cool stuff. But just not not it.
Okay.
As Andrew Lawrence put it on stream in response to Brian Gottlieb's question about how he feels about Vincent, all you have to do is present a fab deck and you'll win the game.
That's it. What was your game plan into Vincent? Present a fab deck.
Exactly.
Don't fail my deck check,
bro. Oh, what a savage.
All right.
Goodness.
Okay, so out of all these heroes that are remaining, I think the one that may have a chance in the next set is Viscera.
No, so in my tier list, I put him at the bottom.
At the very
bottom?
Yes, I had him.
Oh boy,
dead last.
Oh,
no
I'll
shot.
admit,
no shot.
I'll admit, I was wrong. He's down there, but there theoretically is a build that
he's gotten so many new cards in like the last 4 sets, like one by one.
I ran into one the other day on
great.
Hellstar.
Yeah,
he was doing some pretty cool stuff. He made a lot of Ruin Chant.
Yeah, there's the one that just sits back and makes all the rune chants and tries to like kill you in one turn, the looming doom one or whatever, and that is bad. Okay, it is actually awful. There is this like what would they call it? Turbo turtle or something where they're like really defensive, but then they'll have like a big turn with like Arknight ascendancy basically, with a pump on it because you have like Runic Reckoning and cards like that that can kind of boost the attack power. Kind of like back in the day when they used to do the whole like slogism,
Yeah,
Arknight
I've played
ascendancy
Pummel.
kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like just a more efficient version of that. And like I'm like, okay, like that's kind of cool. I don't I don't know like who's giving you all I don't know who's leaving the card table, going to the bathroom mid game and giving you the time to set that shit up. But like if they do, then like congratulations. But I don't know.
It's actually not terrible into the Guardians, but other than that, yeah, he's having a hard time. I guess his matchup into Dromi, I guess it's just not that good anymore, right? Like once he lost Rosetta Thorn,
Just see him
it's just
fading
gone.
away.
We'll put him there.
He's
It's
better than
fine.
Guyz,
Yeah,
that gotta be,
So
right?
we
he
can.
can.
He
He's
deserves
gonna
the spotlight.
surprise some. He's gonna surprise somebody, but yeah, good luck.
Okay. All right. So we have 7 more relevant heroes to talk about. We got Bolton, OG Dash, Phi, Kano, Levia, Prism, and Azuri. I think we've mentioned Kano probably the most out of these heroes that we haven't put him anywhere. So let's put Kano somewhere on this map here.
I think Kano is better than he's ever been right now. I really do.
Kano has always been fairly strong, but needed the correct metagame. Needed a slow enough metagame where decks had to fill up their sideboard slots with different types of hate that were not arcane hate. And basically needed, a couple of slower decks like Victor and Kassai to give him a little bit of an extra boost. He didn't get any new cards. I guess technically he did.
got one.
He got
He
a
got
new
one.
blue. Yeah,
And they're all running it, and it's
Yeah.
good.
And another zap, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that anything like that he got or gained. He's not a better deck, just everybody else sucks more kind of situation. And then that just makes what he does a little
Zap?
bit better.
Zap that makes a ponder is pretty good.
Yeah, but when 40 cards out of your deck you don't want to arsenal, it's not that great.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
I
Like-
think the Kano contingent actually increased because Icelander LL'd. So Icelander was a bad matchup. Plus, if you were a Wizard stan, you might as well have played Icelander in the last meta, right?
Right.
So now we have extra Kano stands. We have the newest set that has Arcane Barrier 0 in the whole set. And you add those two things, it's like, okay, now we're becoming more of a Guardian, Brute, Warrior meta. All those things push Kano into a good position here. And we're talking about the Pro Tour here, right? This is not Tuesday Night Armory tier list here. There will definitely be people that play Kano, and that there are people that picked up Kano in the last 2 weeks, I would say. Now the question is that how much of a share is that going to be, and do we think people are going to come prepared with AB hate, or just Spell Void, Arcane Barrier, damage prevention, or just extra blues or speed? There's different ways to approach it. Every hero approaches Kano a little bit differently.
I'd put him on Katsu's feet.
Katsu's feet. Okay. Something like this, huh?
Like a little bit higher, like almost like the same level as Victor. But like, yeah, like
there we go. Hiding.
but like
he's good.
Like I think there'll be more Kano than people expect. I think
so too.
I think that like think about it, right? Kano got the spotlight week 1 of RTN, so people have had like 6 weeks to when he was like, and then actually it was the Battle Hardened before that, so it's been like almost 2 months since everybody's like, okay, Kano's like legit, and like if people have wanted to figure that out, and plus you have a lot of players that like played him in Blitz and stuff like that, and just never really picked him up in CC. I think that anybody that has the want or the will has had enough time to really hammer the deck out and get those. And 90% of it is gold fishing. Let's be honest.
Is
Um,
Kano rocket science?
it's a hard deck
Is
to
it?
play.
Is it?
I take that back. I take that back. In 70% of the matchups, it's not that hard to play. But the ones where people are trying to grind you out with heavy AB or spell void, it gets the difference between those matchups is like it's night and day. But if somebody loads up AB1, it's easy as shit. You just look at the top. Oh, it's red. Cool. Let's kill them. Like it's not that bad.
Hard matchups are harder than you may have given them credit for.
Yep.
So what you're saying is that good Kanos will do well and bad Kanos will not. So that doesn't that make him closer
Yes.
to the, overrated quadrant?
Well, I'd like to think that most of the Kano players have kind of gotten good at this point. We'll see.
I think that there's a lot of great players in the game that have never given Kano a real shot, and this will be the first tournament that they do. Like, what if Brody Spurlock brought Kano?
Oof, that'd be interesting.
It might go
Like-
to time.
Hopefully not.
Like, are you banishing the top card of your deck or not, bro?
Oh man. Oh god, that was. I need a minute.
we love you, Brody.
Brody's the best.
Big fan. But like, you get what I'm saying, where it's like, another one would be like, Yuki brings Kano or something like that. Just like it's been a deck where like really, really high profile. There's a couple of them that like have always kind of played the deck, like Hayden and Sasha and people like that. And then Majin, and Peter and all those that just like have always played the deck. But Kano's starting to be good enough to where like the more spiky players, not in like performance, but like they play the best deck kind of thing. I think they're more willing to actually give the deck a shot.
Okay. All right. So for our audio listeners, we have Kano in the top right quadrant, very close to Katsu and Victor. Okay. Let's talk. Okay, so we talked about Kano. Kano played against Azuri in the finals of the last Battle Hardened.
Sure.
That was gigantic. Over, I think it was sold out, 160 players. That's 8 rounds. So Azuri had to go 7-1 and then win 2 games and get gifted the finals. Let's not lie here. Still a very, very, very good performance. We saw 2 Azuris in the top 8 there. This has definitely been a hero that I think a lot of people were like forgot. Like as soon as Lexi left, everybody was like, yeah, okay, get out of here, Azuri. Go take a break for now.
Right.
We didn't see much Azuri at Worlds, and this whole heavy hitters meta game, we didn't see much Azuri at all. Mainly because Azuri has issues into Dromi, but we've started to see different builds of Azuri. We've started to see Contract Azuri. We've also seen, which is the closest thing to Fatigue, Decimator Great X style Azuri.
Mhm.
So, I mean, just looking at those 2 styles and this current metagame, how does everything line up?
I think Azuri is an okay spot right now. I don't think she's amazing, but I don't think she's bad either.
Yeah.
She can do some good things, but I don't think she's exactly, thanks to Dromi, sitting pretty.
Yeah.
think
Maybe
she's
like a
probably,
little
like-
bit of a dark horse. Little bit of a dark horse. But like I would say like on the right side of Rhinar.
Really?
You think she's better than Kayo?
No, like on par with Rhinar, just to the right.
Yeah, I can see that.
We keep on referencing. We should just move Kayo up, okay, guys?
He's gonna keep sliding up a little
He
bit.
just
like-
if he makes agilities and does his thing, he's hard
Yeah.
to stop.
Kayo has snuck out of quadrant 4 and moved into quadrant 2, guys.
That sneaky little devil.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
so just thinking about Azuri's matchups here. Contract Azuri. So the old style was the isolate, switch in things, shred things. Lots of arsenal hate. We had already dead, command and conquer, death touch, shakedown, leave no witnesses, surgical extraction, right? So I'll be honest, I haven't looked at the deck list. I just heard that this was a swap to a contract style.
Yep.
I guess you got to put it in Dark Horse if it's been doing well but hasn't been on people's radar.
I mean, it loses to Dromi, it loses to Kano. It beats the mess out of Kayo. It
Mhm.
probably does fine into Katsu. Does okay into Azalea.
Mhm.
Victor gives it I think Victor's a bad matchup because he actually
is,
wants
yeah.
to block, and you don't have a weapon yet that actually affects block cards. So that can be a bit of a hindrance. So,
Okay.
really, like she's got like some very polarizing matchups, but it's like a lot.
Mhm.
It's like you auto lose Kano Dromi, but you like auto win some of the brutes, maybe Katsu, and then like everything. It just there's a lot on both sides.
Okay. All right. So for our audio listeners, we put Azuri next to Rhinar and Bravo, kind of right on the line, the x-axis line. All right. Let's talk about the last brute here. We got Levia. So
She's in a great spot.
I think the murmurings are that Levia's in a very good position because she's gotten a lot of support in the last set. Also, it just feels like the agility tokens were like the missing piece to Levia's consistency.
Mhm.
No longer do you have to rely on scab skins, and arguably it's harder. It probably is the hardest brute to play because you have to manage your graveyard, you have to manage your life total very carefully, your flips into the different demi heroes, and you have to know all your matchups very well. So this is probably a harder hero to pilot than KO. But with that comes additional strength. I think Levia is in a pretty good spot at the moment. Very, very high damage output, has the ability to high roll like crazy if the draws line up. Has, the ability to play some interaction with, Arsenal hate and stuff like that. And, Shadow Brutes have always just been above rate in terms of their damage output. Where do we see Levia currently? She actually has 54 health as well. So that's not 60 health actually.
Can't ignore that. Can't ignore that.
I think she's the
Very
best Dark
strong.
Horse.
I thought you said Dori was your pick for the Dark Horse.
She's the pick for, but I
she's
think
like
I think
here.
that she's like up. Yeah, I think
She's gonna be a smidge more represented, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, there's gonna be that many?
Not that many. Maybe not that many.
If we're saying she's a dark horse, she has to have below average.
No.
I would agree with on the
Yeah.
line. I just think she's up there with Katsu. I think they're really good.
I agree with that. You're gonna see a decent chunk of her, but not a ton.
Yeah,
And she's
She'll
gonna
do
do
well.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, can you guys explain a little bit why you think Leviah is strong? Because if we're putting her this high, there needs to be some rationale.
She is so capable of having good burst damage turns thanks to Art of War and Blood Rush Bellows. Like you said earlier, she has extra life in the form of her demi-hero flip. And like she's good into Kano, she's good into certain guardians. Like she's
Yep.
just good right now. You really can't argue it.
Well, if you compare her to the brutes, right? So Rhinar, she can race better than Rhinar. So when she needs to be fast, she can be fast, and she can use her armor to pivot and make those kind of tempo trades. And KO has a little bit of susceptibility to being like fatigued, or against these like seen some fatigue bravos floating around, and they're there to like target the KOs and whatnot. Well, Leviah like almost assuredly cannot be fatigued, right? Like depending
If you're
on
good.
if you
If
know
you're good.
that's what I'm saying.
Loop
Yeah,
the
you
the Howl from Beyond.
we're a pro tour, Nathan. Of course they're good. Of course. Maybe. But yeah, I think there's a lot of options that they can do. They have a lot of extra cards, like when you add one of those subtypes to your hero, you get a lot of extra things to do. You get a lot of versatility, right? Like, why was Oldham the best guardian back when Oldham was legal? It's because he had just a ridiculous amount of cards that he could play, and just kind of change variants on like the different styles that he wanted to do. Now, I think it's kind of the same way with Levi. You can kind of there is a general like these are the best cards you need to play on your basis, but you can kind of like mix and match what your sideboard is. If you want to play a recursion package, you can play a shit ton of equipment for like everything. You get the shadow like spell void style equipment for the Kanos. Like you just have so much stuff that you can do, right? And you have the normal brute tools against things like mechanologist and whatnot. You play your smashing performances. All of them have this new sin packing card. That card's been nuts, right? Like they have more disruption, and they're also able to be faster. And as high as KO's ceiling is, Levi's ceiling might be a little bit higher, which is like ridiculous to think about.
That is bananas. You're right. She can just be higher as long as things line up. Yeah.
Yep.
And she
Auto-
can clap people. KO can't.
She having
So did he?
blood
hands.
bellow attack.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, we
It's got two arms.
Oh, poor KO.
But
you're right. Yeah.
I'm seeing some just looking at the top half of the chart here. I'm kind of seeing like when we talk about like Leviah, Azalea, and Dori, these are heroes that like you were on this a while or you aren't on this.
They're
Whereas
slightly harder to play.
these heroes, I guess Dromi has been around for so long, but like these heroes feel like, okay, we have new Katsu players, we have new Kano players, we have obviously we have new Victor players and new KO players, but like these feel like more like, okay, people are more likely to pick these up. I guess that's why some is on the left, some is on the right here, but like I don't anticipate people picking up Leviah if they haven't been on it for a while. And part of her strength is coming from like, if you're playing Leviah, you're probably a specialist. Like that's part of why part of her power here. And that's part of the power of Azalea and Dori as well. Okay, got 4 more heroes here. Let's talk about the World Championship deck, Phi Rising Rebellion. Okay, so Phi slew Icelander and then disappeared.
Gone.
Phi is in the worst spot he's been in a bit. He's still good. He still does consistent damage, but can we say he's too fair? He's not too fair, but like, man, Victor just can answer him. Bravo can answer him.
Yeah, he was a very
Azuri
bad.
can answer him.
Pushing him out.
There's so many things that can just answer him right now. Like Kassai, do you want to be Phi into Kassai right now? Her shoes say bye-bye to his Phoenix Flame. Many things that were...
You do have a traditionally okay matchup into Dromi, though, right?
That's true. He's good. Hey, if you face nothing but Dromi, bring Fi.
I don't even think Dromi's that good anymore. Like, it's
Yeah,
not.
actually.
It's probably like close to 50-50. Your worst matchup on the planet is Katsu and Victor. They're doing really well right now. I
Yep.
don't think you can beat Kassai. I don't think you can consistently beat Kayo. You ever tried to lava burst somebody and you get flashback?
Oof.
It will
Wow.
literally bring a tear to your eye. And then Kano, like, you have all reds in your deck. I don't think it's the worst matchup because some people get fancy and do like a bunch of spell void and stuff like that. But regardless, like, there's nothing up there that you're picking on. Like what you were supposed to be picking up on Dromi is not even like that good anymore.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I
So
I don't
at the
know.
moment, no real reason to bring him, but
Yeah.
I mean, power level, his deck is consistent, but it's not the right metagame for him.
He still presents good number, but you're right. Like when the Dromai matchup is closer to 50-50, that's a problem.
Maybe a little bit closer to Bravo. I mean, he's not like there'll be a couple people that bring him just because trying to be a little rebellious.
Yep. Okay, so we put him adjacent to the trash.
Yep, trash adjacent.
All right. Let's talk about Bolton. So this is the other hero that I'm considering for Pro Tour. So current Bolton builds involve Pure Raiden, Switch. There's Pure Combo. There's Axe builds. There's like value based builds with combo. Many different styles of Bolton. At the moment, Bolton has a pretty polarized, not super polarizing, but a relatively polarizing matchup. In terms of like, Dromi is not great. It has never been great. That has been a matchup where you've traditionally had to take a lot of risks with combo. Victor is fine as long as you're playing combo. Kayo can go either way. Your hero ability is great, but KO is not a deck that really wants to block. Same with, you know, just in general, a lot of decks you're not going to get full value out of your hero ability. There's a decent amount of armor in the format, so your Lumina Ascensions with Raiden are not always hitting. Overall, I feel like this is like one of the worst Raiden metas we've seen, and that's like half his game plan. But this is one of the better combo Bolton metas we've seen in a while. Also, Bolton, similar to Leviah, has access to Spell Void 2. So I think with Spell Void 2, Courage of Bladehold, and AB2, you could do quite well against Kano. So, you're not like awful against the decks in the top right quadrant, but you're not like thrilled because you're inherently the combo is risky, and against the brutes you're very reliant on finding key cards like Spirit of Arena or just baiting out flesh bags. So now with all that said, that all sounds negative. However, the upside of Bolted is that you're just gifted about 15% of games. Like 10 to 15% of games are basically unlosable as Bolton because you draw the combo on turn 3 and they die. And at the Pro Tour level, that is a useful thing to have in your. It's very similar to how Dromi just auto wins against Kassai. It's like, okay, I play against the Kassai, I auto win. Thank you.
Right.
Bolton is like, okay, I played against a traditional 50-50 matchup, but I drew my combo in 3 turns and they died. Or I got triple Lumina instead of double Lumina. They just died, right? So those are all. This is why I've traditionally brought Dori to like mid-level events and I've brought Bolton to high-level events. Now here's the issue. I actually think there's a gap between Dori and Bolton. So I actually think the meta share he might actually just be in the middle. And I moved him around. I'm like, maybe we just put him back here. There's a gulf here, right? But Dori's range is lower, whereas Bolton's range is higher, right? So Bolton can hit the same highs as Dori, but he can also have lower lows, right? So, I don't know what to say.
I have an interesting story about Bolton. I practiced the deck for about 2 days, took it to an RTN, and got to the finals. And what I just said earlier, anytime somebody has like a reason to be biased and they go against it, you should probably take it not as law, but like, give it some credit. After that event, I was not very high on Bolton. I think that there were so many matches that were won due to people not understanding like what was trying to be accomplished and like what the board state was, what my, game plan actually is. And if they would, half of my games, I saw my opponent's winning line without them seeing it. And that's not good. That means that you should have lost the game and you didn't because they're not familiar with your deck. So if I was at a pro tour, I probably would, instead of going to the finals, I would have went like 2-4. And that's just like how it was because I saw how they won the game, how they should win the game. And like he does something that's powerful. The problem is Dromi is literally an auto loss. I mean, like 90-10. Kano, not much
The only
better.
10% you're getting there is from when you triple Lumina them on turn 3.
Right. Triple Lumina, not like
and they don't find Tobal Tie.
Right.
You're like, Josh, you win 15% of your games. Well, 10% of those are triple Lumina, 5% is they find Tobal Tie. So
yeah. And then your combo version is bad into every other warrior because they don't have attacks.
Yes.
So they can
have
like
to
just
triple
fatigue you. Right. And so you beat the brutes up. Congratulations. And you have a free win into Victor.
And you're pretty good against Kano.
Yeah, and Katsu's a little iffy, but like I don't know. There's just so much Arsenal hate that you have to play around so much now that it's like I don't know. And you got a nurse flying left and right with Azalea. It's
the real key issue is that the light warrior weapons, although they are thematically amazing, they don't stay on. That's actually the main issue. If Raiden said, if you have 3 soul, this gets, I don't know, the base becomes 3 or something. I don't know. Having a real weapon as warrior is very, very important because you're a mid-range deck. Not every hand is perfect. Oftentimes you're reliant on Tunic. So it's like, if you're just waiting on Tunic for the burst turns, you just run out of cards, naturally doing the back and forth thing. And obviously Kassai and Dori can completely offset that because they have real weapons. Whereas Bolton, this is why I've even experimented with Dawnblade Tunic via the Vanguard style Bolton to have a real weapon. And it's just like, no, I don't want to pay a card to swing my weapon and pay a card to charge. Just like, I don't have any cards, right? So at a fundamental level, one of the things that's holding Bolton back is Raiden. But one of the things pushing him forward is Lumina Ascension. So it's like, this is why every single time I go to like a high level event, I'm like, all right, guys, am I playing Bolton or Dori? And then I agonize for so long over it. So I think Bolton is actually fine, just like smack in the middle. I think he'll be actually pretty well. Quite a few people will play him. Maybe like slightly here. Maybe it might be better. But I think
more Bolton than Azalea.
Bolton is pretty well loved
by Pro Tour players.
Okay, fine. All right, he can sit next to Azuri. Okay, fine. Okay.
Okay, I'll buy it.
I'm pretty sure about the Y. I'm not sure about the X.
I'll give you that.
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
give you that.
Okay, so for our audio listeners, we have put bolted next to Azuri, smack dab on the X-axis, slightly to the right, or sorry, slightly to the left. Okay, any more thoughts on bolted?
Roger Bodie, if you're watching, it's best deck and format.
Yep, he's way up here. He's
Yep,
covering
got it.
Dromi. Oh no, the tier list doesn't even let us do
Same.
it.
Yeah. The tier list knows. The tier list knows.
No. All right, we got two more here. Let's talk about Bolton's buddy,
Let's do Prism first.
Prism, Awakener of Soul. Now, this is a deck that very similar to Kayo, had a flash in the pan, did really well at the Battle Hardened in Liverpool. I think Rob Kenton is his name. He took this to victory there. We saw a moderate spike in Prism play in week 1 and week 2 of RTN. But I think we've kind of come to the consensus that this is not quite the metagame for Prism. She could do she could do some strong stuff with Tome and all that. Will, you wanted to say something?
Well, what can I say? She's officially a real Decagon. She can do some real stuff. She can beat Guardians. She can beat Warriors. She can beat a lot of things. But she is way too fragile and way too delicate to just overcome and rise above so many things that are going to tear her down, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So we've traditionally seen that they have two plans. They have a Herald Aggro plan. They also have a Auras package plan. They traditionally have 2 chess pieces, Vestige of Soul, for when they need to cycle tome into tome into tome, or the Empyrean Rapture when they're likely to have their Heralds hit. So they do have a switch. Most Prism lists are like switch lists, but
I don't think they are anymore.
no. Okay,
I think
explain a little bit.
I think Iris is just gone.
Okay, so
Well, switch list and they still have Vestige for the combo plan.
Yeah, they have a
Herald
combo.
Beatdown.
Yeah.
Not aura based, but like combo based to get out.
Yeah,
of
it's combo
ALS
or
with
Herald.
a Genesis. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so to get out a ALS to protect a Genesis, or to do some loops, or to protect the Angels, right?
Right.
I think we just haven't heard much from Prism. Obviously, she probably has the most polarizing matchups of any of the decks that we've talked about today, right?
Mhm.
Certain decks just cannot deal with what the Illusionists are doing, Warrior, and certain decks just have no problem at all. They have high power cards, they have extra action points, they have the ability to create a board state that's difficult for Prism to deal with. Yeah. Where do we want to put Prism? I think this is actually one of the little bit tougher ones to call.
I would say to the left of Dori,
because it feels like if you have faith in this deck, you practiced it a lot.
Yeah,
and took it to Pro Tour. There probably is something there. Plus, I think this is a deck that a lot of people are going to misplay against.
right. I think it's a good deck. I just think that they'll be very like you have to know that deck in and out, because all of the edge that you gain against other decks is about what you know about their interactions. And so you not only have to know like so much about what you're trying to do, you have to know everything about what your opponent's trying to do and try and find ways to leverage figments to kind of like contaminate that. And it's a very hard deck to play, but I've seen some scary stuff in my testing that makes me very confident in that deck's ability to go deep into a tournament. I think the representation will be dangerously low because you have to be so good on it.
Is it better than KO?
I do think it is better than KO.
There we go. It is a little higher then. All right. And lucky number 25 here, the final hero, OG Dash. So OG Dash got quite a few cards in the last set with heavy hitters. Got backup protocol, got twin drive, got adaptive plating, got what I'm missing one major one, aren't I? Majestic.
The
Barbarian.
twin drive.
I said twin drive. Maybe,
Oh.
yeah, maybe okay. Maybe I'm not missing one, but she got a decent amount of support in Bright Lights. Traditionally, we've seen Dash built as a hybrid deck with a boost plan and a defensive chamber plus purifier plan. However, there are very, very, very defensive decks that exist. We call them Slab Dash, Tree Frog Dash, Turtle Dash, whatever you want to call it. This is the type of dash that's you'll know very, very quickly you're playing against them because they will not be running a lot of mechanologist cards. Playing very, very defensive, trying to set up a pistol package and just win from there with attrition. That deck actually top 8'd Worlds, so and there were quite a few dashes on that plan. So this is a deck that I think people need to keep in mind, and that's one of the strengths of Dash. We talked about how like heroes like Dori and Rhinar can submit 2 plans with one deck. Dash is one of those decks, and not every Dash is going to play the same. Just because they flip over the same weapon plus starting item does not mean that they're the same list. So one of the trickier heroes to play against. A hero that has consistently gotten LL points as well. This is a hero that, you know, occasionally wins callings, does very well just throughout the year, and now is sitting at like 600-700 LL points. Where are we gonna put Dash? OG Dash.
I feel like she's in a good spot.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Leave her on the bullseye. Like, I think some people will bring her. I think she's a fair pick. I don't think she's amazing. But like, I don't know, maybe you could edge her just above Bolton to prove a point.
It's just, you know, Slab Dash is going to be doing a good thing into certain decks. And then you'll just have the traditional Dash that's doing an aggro boost plan into some things and a pistol plan into other things. Like, she's going to be fine into so many different variations that I think she belongs pretty smack dab close to the center.
Let's talk about her matchup spreads here, right? So all the Arcane Rising heroes were blessed with usable equipment that has AB stapled to it. I'm not salty, guys. So Dash is one of those heroes that can operate very, very well by putting pressure on Kano while having Arcane Barrier. So fine against Kano. Probably fairly weak against the Brutes because there's some item hate in the format. Fine into Guardians. How is Dash into Dromi traditionally? I've heard different things about that. Yeah. Okay, so
That's
about
close.
50-50. Okay.
Yeah, not great, not bad.
Yeah. Dash into like boost dash into Kassai and Bolton should be about 50-50. I think Dori just has the edge unless it's Slab Dash. So overall, like everything feels like fine. And she has decent card quality. We have, you know, some very, very powerful cards like Maximum Velocity, Spark of Genius, Teklo Core. One of the heroes that can gain a massive advantage for going first. So yeah, I kind of like her here. I don't know if her meta share is going to be that high. What did she win a lot of RTNs this season? I felt like she was like in the middle of the pack.
She had a strong start and she kind of fell off, but
People got bored of her.
I think she will be the result
Alan
of
Lau
an
got bored of her.
overreaction. I think she will be the result of an overreaction to Kano because
Yeah.
that's one of Kano's worst matchups.
Right.
Ah, so yeah, this is one of the better picks against Kano in this area here.
Mhm.
In fact, if we look at everything that's not trashed here, like which hero would you want to take to fight against Kano?
Mhm.
I'd say it's
Dash.
like Bolton, Leviah, Dash, and
But it's Bolton only with Soulbound Resolve, which is not really a thing anymore. So it's not even Bolton.
Yeah.
Well, no, I actually think the best way to play Bolton against Kano is Halo, Courage,
Mm.
no rune
Oh.
gloves, no rune boots, but that is a little bit of a volatile matchup because you have to expose yourself quite a bit when you're comboing. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, like access to Spell Void and access to, like these
Good AB.
are arcane rising heroes, Azalea and Dash, and I guess
And Libya to a certain
Yeah.
extent.
yeah, like Leviah and Bolton have Spell Void, right? So any of these heroes here would do fine against Kano. I think Dori also does fine against Kano these days. Yeah, I feel like Dash is just like
Kind of just mid into everything.
yeah, it's
Yep.
it's Dori and Dash. I actually can't separate them too far because at their peak was back in Crucible of War, and they were both considered strong, fair decks, and they haven't really become unfair. And different heroes have entered and left the metagame, and they've always just been there. It's like, hey, do you want a deck that like can do some different things? It has good fundamentals. It's not completely broken. There are some strong cards. There are some weak cards. Play Dori or Dash. That's kind of where it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I quite like this, except for one thing. I feel like we need to spread things out a little bit so things don't overlap too much, especially the corner. So let's do that a little bit. Okay, so let's for our audio listeners, we want to summarize here. So in the top right quadrant, we have Leviah, Katsu, Kano, Victor, Dromi, Kayo. So these are strong decks with high meta share being like 9% plus. Okay. In the top left, so this is strong decks that have a lower meta share. We have Prism, Dorinthia, Azalea. Right on the line, we have Rhinar, Azuri, Bolton, and Dash. And then at the bottom right, so this is the overrated quadrant, we have Kassai.
All to herself.
All to herself. And at the bottom left, we can't put Bravo with them. Bravo's with Rhinar. They're buddies. If you didn't hear the hero, they're at the bottom left. And they're all stacked in the corner, basically.
Yeah.
You
shouldn't play them.
Okay, so basically, if you take any of these 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 heroes to Pro Tour, I don't think anybody's really going to bat an eye. You shouldn't be shocked to play any of these 15 heroes at Pro Tour. And that's actually kind of amazing, right? Like 15 viable heroes in the metagame is a lot. Yeah. Okay. So let us just move things a little bit so we can like have things pop out a bit more. All right. Just like that, I guess. We'll kind of leave this clump of heroes. We'll just leave them. It's too much to do. All right. Are we happy with this chart, guys?
I'm happy with
so.
it.
Okay. Is there any final thoughts on this current metagame?
Boy, does Dromi, Dash, and like Dori, and like okay choices. All three of them.
I
Okay.
think this meta really rewards knowing your deck. That is the biggest thing. I think people, like we talked about earlier, who have been specialists, especially on things like Levia, Dromi, Azalea, even Dorinthia in the Dark Horse category, right? I think
Prism.
those people, Katsu even too, right? Prism, like you said, Kano, those people who have been playing those decks for a long time we're going to see them be successful, I believe, because the meta is so wide open, and I think there's a lot of skill expression with this, and that's always a good thing.
Yep, we're in one of the most open and skill expressive formats that we've seen, which is great. Okay. Is there anything else we need to talk about? If not, we can wrap things up.
Good.
Okay.
I feel happy.
The chart guys have worked very hard on this chart. We have been going for 2 hours now. Pretty crazy. Okay, so for those of you who are going to LA, come up and say hi to us. We're friendly lads.
Yes.
And I guess thanks to our sponsors. We have several sponsors here at the TheCardGuyz. We have fabric.gg, Dragon Shield, Magnolia Gaming. Thanks to them. If we didn't have them, it would be really tough to get out to all these events.
Right.
All right.
Absolutely.
This has been Josh Lau, Ed Knight, Nathan Crawford, William Bradshaw with the Card Guys. See you later.
Take care.
Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Tad.